Good morning. Thank you once again for joining us on the Camnet TV Breakfast Show. I'm your host, Miriam Kaiman. Of course, in studio, I'm not alone. I'm joined by my colleague, Athias Kaptula. And today, our focus is on governance, politics, as well as other various issues that are affecting our nation, Zambia. But anyway, before we dive much into our topic this morning, I just want to wish a happy Valentine to everyone, as well as Mr. Kaptula. Happy Valentine's to you, Athias.
Happy Valentine's, thank you, and also happy Valentine's to you. Don't say happy Valentine's to everyone, include yourself. Include yourself in this blanket.
I should include myself.
Yes, it's very important to include.
But what made you think I wasn't including myself?
No, you were touching yourself by saying to others, then we must include everyone.
But anyway, yeah, I get you. I include myself in this, and you know, Valentine's. A lot of people are expecting gifts, presents. I hope you're expecting that as well.
Yeah, I'm expecting that. Yeah, I'm expecting that, yes.
Although you didn't sound convincing. But anyway, I am also expecting that from you as well.
Oh, yeah.
As my colleague and out there from the Camnet crew. But anyway, before we dive much into some of the various issues that we're going to be looking at this morning, let's just get direct into our health corner and just see what the doctors have for us this morning.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Dr. Manga Naluri. I'm with the Medical Women's Association of Zambia. For the past 2 days, we've been discussing cholera. On day one, we discussed what cholera is and what it does to the body. And yesterday, we discussed how to prevent cholera. And some of the ways we talked about was making sure that we wash our hands for at least 20 seconds with soap and water, making sure that our water is kept clean. How do we keep our water clean? By boiling it and by using chlorine. And also, we also talked about making sure that the fruits and vegetables that we eat are always washed and reducing buying foods from the street. So today, we're going to talk about the signs and symptoms of cholera. So we talked about cholera being a disease that's caused by a bacteria called Vibrio cholerae. And last time, I discussed what it does to the body. So I talked about how when it goes into the body, the Vibrio cholerae, which is the germ that causes cholera, produces poisons in the body, in the intestines, which cause large amounts of water to be lost through diarrhea and vomiting, and not just water or fluids, but also electrolytes. And so our signs and symptoms are going to come off based on this. So we know that our first which is the common sign that we see, is the vomiting and the diarrhea. But then what type of vomiting and diarrhea is this? Because we know that there are so many things that cause vomiting and diarrhea. Things such as viruses, other types of infections. But in this case, we're talking about cholera and the exact diarrhea and vomiting that it causes. So we call the type of diarrhea and vomiting, it looks like rice water. And you know what rice water is. When we wash rice before cooking it, that water that looks whitish on top, when we're pouring that water before cooking rice, that's how the diarrhea and the vomiting that people who have cholera looks like. So when you see that, it's a #1 sign, and you have to rush this person to the hospital. Because we talked about how this can cause dehydration, and dehydration can cause death if it's severe. So other signs and symptoms will now be based on dehydration. So someone will complain about being thirsty, someone will complain about being restless, someone will have muscle cramps because they lost muscle cramps and spasms. That's because of the loss of electrolytes that I talked about last time, which are elements that are needed for the body to function very well. And then other signs are someone could go into a coma, someone could have seizures because of the electrolyte imbalances that we talked about also, and Also, cholera usually affects the extremes of ages, so in babies and in the elderly. So it's very important for us to know the signs and symptoms in these specific people, because babies won't talk, they won't tell you how they're feeling. So sometimes some signs of dehydration in the babies are they'll have sunken eyes, so their eyes will go in, and then they'll complain of thirst, their mouths will be dry, and yes, their mouths will be dry. Some other people complain about weakness, and they'll have reduced urine. So someone would talk about how they're not going to the bathroom to urinate as frequent as they usually do, because now they've lost too much fluids, and so there's reduced urine, reduced sweating, and all these other things. So we've talked about the signs and symptoms, and it now becomes easy to identify who has cholera. And so each time you notice maybe someone in your family or even you has these signs and symptoms, do not just sit at home. Make sure you seek medical attention. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Dr. Mainga Nalue with Medical Women's Association.
Indeed, as we get to address issues with regard to cholera, it is very important that we continue to adhere to the health guidelines that the Ministry of Health has put in place. I know that a lot of people become so reluctant when we hear the fact, that we're now recording low cases of cholera, but it's very important that we continue practicing those golden rules that we have been taught. Always make sure that you clean your hands, you sanitize, you keep your environment clean, wash your food. It's very important, because we are trying to avoid a situation where in the near future we have cases of cholera. And the sad part is that we not only record cases of cholera, we are losing lives when we record these cases. That's the sad part.
It is a sad part, yes, and of course, what you have mentioned, and our government has been pushing, we need a mindset change. It should be a lifestyle, because data as well has been a lifestyle. No wonder I've seen that there is this recurrence of
and it's very sad how we have just become so okay with it.
Yeah, it is not. It
Someone
should not
would
be the
throw
case.
something, you're just okay with it. You don't feel guilty. You don't feel anything. It's part of you.
Yeah, it's just a mindset that needs to shift, so that we ensure that these gains that have been recorded, especially during this pandemic, they are maintained until we have zero cases, and as well as admissions, because the numbers of cases, I think they are worrisome, so to say.
Exactly. Anyway, let's get direct into our money market. We have the United States dollar. They are buying at 26.61 Ngwe, selling at 27.13 Ngwe. We have the euro. They are buying at 28.55 Ngwe, selling at 29.11 Ngwe. We have the South African rand. They are buying at 1.40 Ngwe and selling at 1.43 Ngwe. We have the Great British Pound. They are buying at 33.51 Ngwe and selling at 34.17 Ngwe. That is our money market for today as of 0729. Our interest is on the dollar. Wow, we are already on the 27. On the selling part, we're already at 27.
Yeah.
On the buying part, we're already at we are at 26, and only a few cents. We will be expecting to be at 27 as well, and with on the selling part, looking at the way it's trending, we don't want it to go to 28.
Yeah, I think it has been on 27. I think we have also noted some gains there with the kwacha, and we hope that trend continues, because on both sides, like last week it was on 27. So we have seen a bit of change, and we hope that those gains they can continue there.
Exactly. Anyway, just a reminder to our viewers that we have now officially opened our phone lines. Our viewers can take part in our conversation this morning. We are talking about the newly formed alliance. Do you think this alliance will be able, to offer the necessary checks and balance to the current administration? Later on, we'll be joined by a media expert who is going to help us also talk about the anti-bill, the access to information bill. Why is it important in this country, Zambia? But anyway, let's get direct now, so that we look at some of the stories that made headlines in our news yesterday. A very interesting story where from the court, we did see a story from the former University of Zambia Student Union President, Chongo, who testified before the Lusaka Magistrate Court that the opposition Socialist Party National Youth Secretary Gabriel Banda was seen in campus prior to the riot, which took place on Monday, 18 September 2023. In his testimony, Chongo told Magistrate Trevor Kasanda that upon realizing, he directed some students to observe the conduct of the accused while at campus. This is a matter where Gabriel Banda is facing one count of inciting violence in the Unza riots that took place in September 2023 and left a trail of destruction. Let's get to look at that story.
Two state witnesses have so far testified in a matter in which opposition Socialist Party National Youth Secretary Gabriel Banda is facing one count of inciting violence in relation to the University of Zambia main campus riot on 18 September 2023. The former University of Zambia Student Union President Jean Rajongo testified that the over 500 UNZA students took to the street and protested on 18 September 2023 against the alleged cancellation of the 2023 Student Union elections. In his testimony, the former UNZASU president explains that prior to the riot, he received a call that his immediate predecessor of the Student Union, Gabriel Banda, had been spotted within the premises of the university. He says this prompted him to instruct his henchmen to observe the accused movements because he was on campus without the authority of the university management, and his previous behavior of allowing students to rise against management was questionable. Later, the henchmen managed to capture a video of him mentioning various media houses and later ended by saying roadside to the students. The witness told the court that around 18 to 20 hours while seated in the room, he heard noise outside and observed some flaming tires, which prompted him to attempt to address the student, who rejected the move, and that's how the riot began from the campus, destroying numerous properties, looting shops, and extended to Greatest Road. Mr. Chongo also testified that as the riot got intense, his room was looted, resulting in him losing all his clothes and a sum of about 40,000 kwacha. He testified that as a result of the situation, he sneaked out of campus and reported the matter to police. Gabriel Banda, 33, was arrested on 28 September 2023, later released on 50,000 bail, and faces one count of inciting violence or breaches of law of assemblies contrary to Section 91, subsection A, B, and C of the Penal Code in relation to the UNZA riot that took place in September 2023 and left a trail of destruction. Trial continues in this matter. Nelson Zulu for Camnet News, Lusaka.
Quite an interesting story there that is before the Lusaka Magistrate Court, and trial is still taking place in that matter. We wait to see how the case will unfold, and our reporter there, Nelson Zulu, will keep updating us with information with regards to that particular case. But moving forward, still in the court news, we also did see a story where the Economic and Financial Crimes Court division has declined to grant an application by former President Edgar Lungu's son, Daliso Lungu, to set aside the Director of Public Prosecutions for future proceedings on account of irregularities. Daliso Lungu earlier requested the court to set aside for irregularities a matter in which the DPP is seeking the court to forfeit his properties to the state. but in a ruling passed by Judge Annie Anunudu on behalf of Judge Paxina Hangalilo, the application has been dismissed on grounds that the interested parties will not suffer any prejudice by not setting aside the originating process and removing the said irregular paragraph. Anyway, that is a story that is also before the High Court under the Economic and Financial Crimes Division. We have seen there that the Director of Public Prosecution did make various applications before that particular specialized court in order that the former president's son, Mr. Darius Olungu, should forfeit his property to the state, and in return he won't be prosecuted. So we have seen another similar application that has been done on his sister, who is Tasila Lungu, as well as the former First Lady, that is Madam Esther Lungu. We have also seen a similar application being that has been done by the Director of Public Prosecution. However, the parties involved have also argued their case that, you know, these are not property that can be labeled to be proceeds of crime, but, you know, they keep on, you know, filing their submissions before the court and also defending themselves before the courts of law. Yeah,
I think the TPP feels that he's on firm grounds to ensure that he goes through with the forfeiture of these properties. We wait to see on how the entire issues are going. Remember that this is part of the drive that this government has taken to ensure that they recover some properties which are suspected to be proceeds of crime. So let's wait, because everyone is innocent until they are proved guilty.
Yes.
Yeah, so let's just wait and see how it turns out.
Exactly. Anyway, moving forward, what stories do we have on your end?
On my end, I do have the Online Taxi Drivers Association of Zambia, who have described the business environment since the increment of fuel pump prices as difficulty. Association Country Coordinator Pastor Charles Kaila says drivers are facing difficulty in generating sufficient profits. We can get into that story.
For us back, as your memory and mine can take us, online taxi drivers have been staging protests, seeking an audience with authorities to address what over time they have termed as exploitation. Among their concerns are security of the drivers and unfair service rates, especially with the recent fuel price increment. But despite these concerns, government has clearly stated its position on this matter, as Minister of Transport and Logistics Frank Tayali is hereby quoted as saying government won't intervene in taxi wars. But Online Taxi Drivers Association of Zambia Country Coordinator Pastor Charles Kaira says the statement is unacceptable. However, is delighted that the minister has started showing interest to address their plight.
We do not accept that. We do not condone that as an association. And that word actually, I think it has been revised now, because I heard on the previous meeting that the interview that the Minister of Transport had, it's like he has begun to understand the need of the driver. And he has also given us a platform. I think last week we were called upon also to represent our issues on paper to the Minister of Transport. So it is giving a little bit hope. Now the Minister has begun to understand the situations that the drivers are going through. I think of late we had a lot of issues concerning the ministry and the association, because the online business was a new business in Zambia.
Pastor Kaira is also happy that the Zambia Police has shown interest to come on board and ensure drivers are safe in their line of duty. However, discloses that the recent fuel price increments have affected their businesses.
We have had powerful meetings with the police, the Zambia Police at Central Police, and we want to thank the Zambia Police for welcoming the association. That the Zambia Police, they are willing to work hand in hand with the association. We have presented issues, matters of murder. Of course, the police service also has presented matters to us, even the issues that we never knew, and they have given us ideas on how we can also operate on these platforms. That's tough out there for the driver. But some other drivers nowadays are able to negotiate on their personal basis with the clients. So to the clients out there, I want you to understand that when the driver is trying to negotiate with you, it's not that they are stealing or they are going beyond their limits. It's the issue they're trying to meet up with the fuel pump. Otherwise, the fuel pump price is quite high.
On January 31st, 2024, the price of petroleum products were adjusted upwards, with petrol having an upward adjustment of 34 kwacha 19 ngwe from 29 kwacha 98 ngwe per litre, while diesel was adjusted from 29 kwacha 96 ngwe to 32 kwacha 15 ngwe per litre, respectively. Vincent Piri for Camnet TV News, Lusaka.
Those are continued concerns in terms of operations by taxi drivers, to be specific, online taxi drivers, in light of the increment of fuel. I think it's the concerns across the board. Several drivers have also complained in terms of the increment of fuel. However, it is the reality on the ground, which I think they are trying to engage the minister to ensure that they go around it by adjusting the prices. Again, it's a kind of a dilemma. It
is again. I understand that the drivers are also complaining about the fuel pump price. We have on the other hand, we have consumers also going to complain about
the high prices
that they are subjected to pay. So it's a two-way situation. But we hope that at the end of the day, like you said, when they sit on the round table with the Minister of Transport there, Frank Tayali, they'll be able to come up with mechanism that is going to benefit both parties and not only benefit one particular party.
Oh yeah. Yeah, moving on the stories that we're zooming in this morning, we move to the politics that happened from the courts, where Opposition Patriotic Front faction Vice President Given Lubinda says he is not shocked by the revelation of Minister of Information and Media Cornelius Mwetwa that his party member of the Central Committee Shimba Kambwili was allegedly abused because he has been there before and knows what happens in politics. Mr. Lubinda alleges that he was abused when he was elected chairman for information for the United Party for National Development, UPND, to arrange meetings when President never wanted him anywhere near National Management Committee. You can just get to look into that story.
As the public and other stakeholders ask questions on the true intention of the remarks by the Minister of Information and Media, Cornelius Mwetwa, when he alleged that the PF party member of the Central Committee, Chishimba Kamweli, was allegedly used to bring the PF administration and former President Edgar Lungu down, Opposition Patriotic Front faction Vice President Given Lubinda says he is not shocked by the revelation of the minister because he has been there before. He alleges that he faced the same abuse which forced him to resign.
Now it has been revealed that actually they are abusing us. They are abusing the opposition. It is now clear that Chishimba Kambwili did what he did when he ditched the Patriotic Front, when he was kicked out of the Patriotic Front, went and formed NDC. The reason he abandoned it was because he was sponsored by Hakainde. That is basically what Cornelius Mwetwa is saying. And that wouldn't shock me, because I've known the traits of Hakainde Hichilema to be a person who does not respect.
Meanwhile, when the matter in which he is facing 4 counts of possessing property suspected of being process of crime came up for continuation of defense, Mr. Lubinda narrated to the court how he entered into an agreement with Kingsland City and paid 1 million kwacha upon execution of the contract. Mr. Lubinda also told the Economic and Financial Crimes Court that the $100,000 which was deposited into his bank account from Quindao Ranching Cotton Industrial Company was not a proceed of crime. Allegations are that in the first count, Mr. Lubinda on 3rd March 2018 at Lusaka received $50,000 from China Africa Cotton Limited, and in the second count, he is alleged on February 2nd, 2019 received $100,000 from Quindao Ranching Cotton Industrial Company Limited, property reasonably suspected of being proceeds of crime. In the third and fourth count, allegations are that Mr. Lubinda on December 23rd, 2019 in Lusaka, received $80,000 from Quindao Ranching Cotton Industrial Company Limited, property reasonably suspected of being proceeds of crime, and on March 15, 2019 in Lusaka, he disposed of $50,000 to Sunshine Investment as part payment towards the purchase of a property situated in Kingsland City. Lusaka Magistrate Stanford Ngobola has since adjourned the matter to 14 February 2024 for a scene visit. Nelson Zulu for Camnet News, Lusaka.
Since the year 2011, the world at large has been observing February 13th as World Radio Day, declared by UNESCO, and was then adopted by the United Nations General Assembly in 2013 as an international event. Today, Oblet Radio Liseli in Mongo District has joined the rest of the world in celebrating this day.
Way back, we know about the short waves, but in 1933, that was the time Edwin Armstrong introduced the frequency moderated. That we're enjoying today as a FM, as we say, Oblet Radio Liseli 105.3 FM. As we keep on celebrating the World Radio Day, we want also to mention to you, guests of honor, that in the year 2011, the member state, UNESCO, then adopted, February 13 as the World Radio Day.
Oblet Radio Liseli Productions and Programs Manager George Malumo has acknowledged the listeners, adding that their participation and engagement has positively contributed to the station.
As we celebrate the 19th year of radio broadcasting, as Radio Liseli here, we are celebrating in the century of radio. So we are grateful for you, for your support, feedback, and engagement. Your continued listenership motivates us to strive for excellency and innovation in delivering quality programs that resonates with the community.
In officiating the event, His Worship the Mayor for Mongo, Nyambe Myombana, in his remarks has implored radio stations to remain objective and professional in their coverage.
We want to employ you, or to urge you that are managing radio today, to ensure that you don't erode the importance of radio. Also, let's remember to balance and be objective. Let's not just bring one-sided story. At all times, let's have another voice or the other part say their side of the story.
Innocent Tulisha, a local radio champion, says radio has played a huge role in shaping the perception of communities. Radio stations are critical key players in society as they predominantly communicate, entertain, and educate in languages of the communities they serve. Enoch Kaneta for Camnet News in Mongo.
I am proud to state that the new Dawn administration, through the Independent Broadcasting Authority, has issued about 60 radio and television licenses across the country since coming into office 2 years ago. This is the largest number ever of broadcast licenses to have been issued in a single tranche in the history of IBA. I think that deserves a clap.
Those were stories that made headlines in our news yesterday. But moving forward, we have now been joined by a guest in studio who is going to help us discuss various issues pertaining to governance. And in studio, we're joined by Mr. Cosmas Chileshe, who is the Deputy Secretary General for Christian Democratic Party. Good morning.
Miriam, good morning, and happy Valentine's.
Thank you. Thank you. Happy Valentine's to you too.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sure. For the sake of our viewers who are watching you on the screens for the first time on the Camnet platform, just give us a little bit about the Christian Democratic Party. What party is this?
Well, the Christian Democratic Party basically answers to the core of the Republican Constitution that has declared Zambia as a Christian nation. and it seeks to put in place a Christian cabinet because Zambia by nature is a light of the world, and we want to reflect that in our governance. So it is headed by Apostle Dr. Daniel Pule, who has not been participating in the elections. The past ones been 2016 and 2021 because of the support that the party has been giving to the Patriotic Front and ECL. And this time around we are delighted as he reiterated his call that God has called him to be the presidential candidate for 2026, and that is the more reason some of us who are Christians want to be part of that aspiration of putting a man of God in office. So the Christian Democratic Party seeks to govern through Christian principles and also Christian values. They are biblical principles that we can apply to the governance system of our country. We saw the wisdom that Joseph in the Bible demonstrated when he established the Food Reserve Agency, which served the entire world. We are having a food crisis in terms of high prices of mealie meal. We have the wisdom of God to find solutions which should overall translate into public policy to bring about the prosperity, because there's so much wealth that this country is endowed with. There's potential in agriculture. There's potential in our mining sector, for instance. So this is the heritage, and the Christian Democratic Party realizes to that fact, and we are seeking to work with other political parties in what has been announced in the pressure group, which is now being called the United Kwacha Alliance. By the way, I was part of the original secretariat that started those talks when political parties, who were about 13, were just having press briefings, and leaders of these political parties had to meet. Some are yet to consult with their memberships, because we are seeing some resignations from party members, from leaders who did not consult their members with this decision. But any kind of coming together is welcome. But of course we heard the announcements that a political party was to be formed called United Kwacha Alliance. What has been formed is a pressure group. So those are other dynamics that we need to look at. Why a pressure group and not just a political party? Probably that could have accommodated our former president, ECL, who currently could be partyless because of the recognition of Mao Sampa by the registrar of society. So those are some of the dynamics. But however, our strongest appeal to alliance partners is that they should rally behind the candidature of Dr. Daniel Pule. Other than that, we will negate our gains of what we have done in the party so far, considering that we have not participated in elections in 2016 and 2021. So we welcome the support from alliance partners, and they say in my language, so we are declaring our leadership to lead that UKA, and would be grateful if probably the support came from the former president himself, because my president personally took the case to court to seek the court's interpretation whether he was eligible to stand in the 2021 election or not. It was based on that Daniel Pule case with other presidents that he was declared eligible. So that was great support that the Christian Democratic Party has been giving to ECL in the past. So this time around, we can only seek support from the former head of state and those colleagues in the alliance partner. So that is our position, And probably that is why, even though Christian Democratic Party was left out from the original 7, thank God it came at the 11th hour.
There are certain concerns that as a Christian Democratic Party, you are in this alliance. Among those who are in this alliance is the opposition political party, but there are concerns that this current opposition political party is facing a lot of wrangles within itself. How do you think it will be able to help the alliance move forward?
That is why there was a secretariat, and that's a very good question, Miriam. Very intelligent question, I must say. That is why there was a secretariat that was established to provide guidance when it comes to such matters, because the strength of the secretariat, which is still headed by Mr. Chanda Kasolo, the Secretary General from Zambia Must Prosper. I'm the Secretary General of the Secretariat. This Secretariat is called Save Zambia. We have the Treasurer, our colleague who is the spokesperson for UNIP. So we'd like to provide some kind of advice on how best alliances can be arranged, because they are being done in the environment where we do not have a legal framework that supports registration of an alliance. And that is where even you media colleagues, you need to look at this story very carefully, because the earlier announcement, as I earlier indicated, was that a new political party was going to be registered in the name of United Kwacha Alliance. What has been registered as per records I saw yesterday through the name clearance that was filed by ULP President Sakwiba Skota. He has registered a pressure group. Now, in a pressure group, it is okay, even factions, parties to join, okay? But you see, we have received indication, for instance, from the Office of the Inspector General, who has expressed concern that granting permits, okay, to groupings where there are factions becomes a security concern. So when we were planning in the initial stages, we made a deliberate policy to leave out the Patriotic Front in our joint press briefings. And by the way, we were to have a launch of Save Zambia Mass rally on the Copper Belt at Freedom Park. And in our application for permit, we did not include, I'm trying to answer your question, how we are to advance this grouping where we have, you see, the safest way they have done it is okay, as a pressure group. But if they had formed a political party, that would have helped, because ultimately, UKA must be registered as a political party, because there is no pressure group that stands on the ballot box. The Election Commission of Zambia will not register as UKA on the ballot paper, because it's not a political party, it's a pressure group. And if it is the people's movement, people would want it to be registered as a political party. And that is my question. That Walanda Twilaf Somuchere Munama, why has Sakwiba Skota registered a pressure group and not a political party? Because that is what people have reported. It's a political party which has been welcomed, because there is no legal framework that supports a registration of an alliance. You see what I mean? So the Patriotic Front are free to participate in this pressure group, because they are under pressure, after all, to find relevance amidst what has faced them. But it's a bit of a frustration, really, that the former head of state finds his house in that order. He should probably have still remained as party president. He shouldn't have resigned. But even then, it was not going to be accepted for some of us who were still in the Patriotic Front at the time. Would have loved him to find probably a successor, not him to stand. Because Edgar Lungu, as we all know, is a transitional leader for this nation after the death of our founding president of the Patriotic Front, His Excellency Michael Chufya-Chata. So we cannot have again having Isieo to come and stand in 2026 because the transitional position with which he was raised has elapsed. Each generation demands for its leadership. That's why this current generation is demanding for its leadership, and that is where the crux of the matter will be as we support the leadership going to 2026. So there are those dynamics, but a formation of a new political party for the PF is what they should do, because on what position does our former head of state stands, even in the alliance? You understand what I'm saying? We look at him from two positions. He's the father of this nation because he's the only existing head of state for this country. That is a very big position he occupies. Okay? But he does not have a political party as things stands. And I say that with due respect because that's what the records at the Registrar of Societies are saying. And other than that, you cannot accept anything which is in place. So why don't we give him honor by registering United Kwacha Alliance? Why are we registering it as a pressure group?
I just want to come in. From your explanation, it seems that you are part of the alliance, but it seems that there are some teething issues of disagreements. What do you hope to get really from the alliance yourselves as a Christian Democratic Party?
Well,
and just in addition, yes, before you finish, you respond to that thought. When you came together as opposition political party, did you sit down at the round table and give your support to one candidate and say, okay, all political parties are going to rally behind this candidate?
How can two work together except they agree? To start with, what agreement has been there? Even before you make a move, and those are some of the things Secretariat would like to provide, because we feel some of the announcements which have been done have been rushed, because there should have been a consultative process, first of all from the party presidents with their structures and the leadership, but maybe in the so-called shrinking democratic space quickly. That's why our position is that since there is an agreement for these people to work together, let them dissolve themselves, form one political party in the name of United Kwacha Alliance, and then go as an alliance that way. Because that is why people would say as alliances have never worked, because of this same agreement. What do we want to take from this alliance? We want the support of all those presidential candidates, including support from ECL. If anything, ECL owes this support to Dr. Pule.
You want everyone to back Dr. Pule as a president?
If not, then I will not be part of it. I will not be part of it. I joined Christian Democratic Party because I believed what my president told me. God has spoken to him that will be on the ballot paper for 2026. Not that he was going to negotiate with Edgar Lungu or any other presidents in those alliance. If not, then I will have to tell the membership of the Christian Democratic Party that the man we all stood to support, has decided to support another candidate. But where have been everywhere to organize the party, they have said that to the fire ballast again what you have been doing in 2016 and 2021. So we are there and we have stated our position, and we are asking for support from Madam Shala Kateka, from Madam Saboy, from Jackson Silagwe, from Mayowa Nawakwi, from Harry Kalaba. Give support to Dr. Pule.
And what has been their response? Are they all in support of your request?
That is what I'm demanding on the table. There are no two ways about it.
In an event that they say they are not going to do that, because they also, their candidates also have intentions, to
as a member of the Christian Democratic Party, my table before my president is that we go it alone. That is the demand of the grassroots I've been to. And for heaven's sake, Dr. Pule served under Dr. Chiluba. Dr. Pule helped in pioneering what we are celebrating in terms of World Radio Day, the advent of Christian Voice, TBN, Christian broadcasting, and overall giving character to the interpretation of Zambia as a Christian nation. So we feel that this is our time to put up men that have a heart and fear for God in serving this nation. And that is where we are heading to, and that is our vision.
My other question, do you think this alliance was rushed to be formed?
Well, probably there was that age. But it can only come at a time like this. Mind you, we are going to 2026 elections. Okay, so time to start mobilizing structures is now. This is 2024. By the time we get to 2025, it's campaign time. So I think the time is right. The time is right. But probably the rashness has to do with the consultative process. It should have come even much earlier. So let the consultative process be quickly reached. Let the terms and agreements, those parties that will not be able to agree to the terms, let them pull out. Those that will agree, let them go in that direction. I think that's how it works, because there's no time to waste in the alliance, and then at the end of it all, you find that you have no time to mobilize your own structures.
Well, viewers, you're watching Camnet TV Breakfast Show, and this morning we are discussing governance and other political issues. In the studio, we have Mr. Cosmas Cheche, who is the Deputy Secretary General for Christian Democratic Party. We are discussing the newly formed United Quarter Alliance, and also just explaining their role in this alliance. Moving on, we get to the other part of our discussion where you are also a media expert.
Yes.
We saw that last year the ATI law was signed by the president. How do you just describe the nation in terms of its being
First of all, I would like to commend this administration, the New Dawn, under President Hakainde Hichilema, for that bold step, because it has been a campaign issue by all presidential candidates. They have been saying, when we come to office, we will enact the access to information law. We will do this, we will do this. And as a journalist, I've been covering this story, so I know it well. And it never happened until now. So I commend them for that. However, the bill was rushed to Parliament because it has gone one-sided. It has gone limping. We have the Human Rights Commission that is playing an oversight role for that law, because they are looking at information from a human rights position. But how about you, the media, who are the main consumers? of information. Are there any freedoms that have been guaranteed for you in what has become law? So my proposal as a communications expert and as a journalist is that government should call for a stakeholder meeting. We should not just have the human rights to play the oversight role. There should be some media bodies that should also have a part with it, because you do not have access. While you have access, for instance, where are the freedoms? We want that law also to speak for the freedoms for you members of the press, because a free press is what guarantees a democracy. So when I look at the access to information law, it needs to be refined. I was thinking that at some stage, just that my voice was not heard enough, but I was calling somewhere that the minister can withdraw it so that there should be an input from media bodies. That was my concern, because I'm not seeing freedoms for the press that have been guaranteed. If anything, you find that instead of it giving the access, it is more restrictive because of maybe procedures that you have to follow through in trying to obtain certain information, because media is working against meeting certain deadlines. So there has to be flexibility, but much more, there has to be a shift in terms of policy among communication units of government, because one of the biggest failure this administration has struck its communication units. If anything, they are dysfunctional. That's why you have the president trying to explain to the media in a 4.5-hour press conference as a chief. It means the president does too much overload. So the access to information should capacitate our communication specialists in government units, so that they no longer hold the information, because people are being suffocated. They want to know what this government, sorry, I'm used to saying what God.
Oh yeah, yes.
Yeah, what God is doing. They want to know what this government is doing regarding the debt restructuring. They want to know what government. So if they are saying the president has moved too much, too many trips, is the most traveled, what is it that has come out from those trips? What are the embassies abroad doing to really show the impact of those visits? So you find that the communications units are dead, and that's why at one point the president, when he was swearing in Comrade Tabo Kawana's information PS, he gave indication to say that let the public know, because he had visited the judiciary where he found that there is a lot that has been done and people don't even know, and yet so there's so much that we need to do in terms of taking advantage of the access to information law. We need workshops so that we change the mindsets of people that have been sitting on information, because part of what we are experiencing is a lack of information. So information is key. Information is key. And it's not just key in terms of development that way, it's also for our security. So we look at the access to information from two sides, and also from the security point of view. Yeah. So there's a lot that we need to do to take advantage of, but much more we want to see you, the media, having a large stake, because somebody, when I appeared on a radio program, was saying that why is it that the media are not even excited about it? Because probably we are left out in the process.
So you are saying that the minister should not proceed in terms of signing the commencement order for the law to be in effect?
No. The law is already in effect. The president at the last end of year press conference did sign the access to information law. So it is law. It's the implementation part.
Yes, for
yes.
it to commit.
Yes, the implementation.
The minister has to
the implementation, and that is where my concern. The best way to keep a slave, they say, is to hide information. When a slave read that is no longer a slave, slavery has been abolished, it changed the mindset. So let's get to this and see how we can still implement it in its current form. Where it is rigid, that is where now room for amendment comes in.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's see. Let's have stakeholder meetings so that, especially for the media, they should make proposals to the minister so that he can take an amendment. Because, for instance, I would like to find out, will there be another bill called Freedom of Information Bill that will be taken to Parliament? Because there's access to information. On the other side, they have been talking about freedom of information, which largely touches you on the press. So I was thinking that the access to information law, which is in place, should have struck that balance with the freedom of information, which touches the media practitioners. So those are the areas of refinement, so that democracy can be balanced because of the watchdog role that media plays to society. Sure.
As a media expert, is the current administration leaving to your expertise or to your concerns in terms of addressing issues affecting the media industry? Do you think the media sector has been given the freedom to operate freely without any intimidation and harassment?
First of all, from the last press conference the president had, he gave an olive branch to you, the media, by instructing the secretary to the cabinet, Mr. Kangwa, that include the private media on my visits. Okay, first of all, because when a list is sent to him of people that are accompanying the president, he looks at your name, where is this person coming from? Or is not Zanis, is Zan, is Camnet. You are dropped. So I don't know if you have taken advantage. How has that been implemented? So it's incumbent upon chief executive of media houses to actively engage State House through their public relations unit, because we need to keep track as well on some of these important visits where the president wants you, the private media, to help interpret, because ZNBC probably is not telling the story enough for people to understand some of the things that he's doing. So that is one side. However, we have seen certain undemocratic tendencies, especially perpetuated by the police. For instance, when you, the media, have been invited to go and cover a press briefing, and then all of a sudden they come and pick you up together with the conveners of the meeting for unlawful assembly. Where are the freedoms of the press in that sense? So we want to see this respect between the law enforcement agencies and you, the media. But overall, we've heard pronouncements that there will be no TV or radio station that will be closed under this administration, provided you, the media, operate within the guidelines of the licenses you've been given. But over and above, we can only hope for the best out of this country. So in areas where this administration is not doing well, let's point out. But I think one of their greatest failure is this job on training that they have been through, at the same time trying to settle because of the sudden changes they had to make when they took over this administration. They have people in some of those offices who have no institutional memory, for instance. So there's a lot that needs to be done, but hopefully they can quickly do something in this year, depending on how this year is going to end. As a communications specialist, I would like to come in December after I hear the end of year press briefing from conference from the president please invite me after that address. Then I would like to give direction to overall where we are going to be as a nation, because we are also playing a prophetic role for the leadership of this country under the Christian Democratic Party.
Let me shift your attention to this particular question that a lot of people would want to know, especially viewers who are watching out there. Is the Christian Democratic Party the right party to help Zambians in terms of governance, politics, and address issues that a lot of citizens are facing? Are you ready, come 2026, to form a government?
Quickly, let me indicate that much as we are Christian Democratic Party, we are aware of Article 60 of our Constitution, where we are not founded on religious grounds. And I must state that it's the values, it's the principles. We are not discriminating any. And in one of my mobilization activities, we've had people from other religions joining the Christian Democratic Party because of the values and the principles. So those are the things that Zambia is ripe for. We are ripe for this leadership. We are ripe for this leadership, and that is where whatever people are complaining about, there is divine wisdom to find solutions to the challenges that we are facing. So it is only, that is why they say that when the righteous rule, people do what? Rejoice. So that is what we want to, right now, okay? We have President Hakainde Hichilema. There are certain attributes. You see, every leadership, and this has been the problem of understanding leadership. I did not support President Hakainde Hichilema in the election, okay? Because I was in the opposition. You understand what I'm saying? In the Patriotic Front then, and we had issues there, we would have been in office if President Lungu had chosen a successor. And that is why even now we cannot allow that president can come, because even in the Patriotic Front then we wanted him to choose somebody else, so that the vision of President Michael Sata continues. And by the way, us who are the founding members of the Patriotic Front, we believed in President Hakainde Hichilema. We were telling Bashkulu we want to see how Hakainde can be the vice president of you. This country is going to develop. You understand what I'm saying? We believe in the leadership that he was going to provide. That is why there was an alliance between the Patriotic Front and Hakainde Hichilema. You understand that? So we have a good person in terms of the leadership attributes, but the problem is that it's not translated down the leadership. We only have one good man in office. You see what I mean? So that must be reflective. That's why God was even telling Moses that bring your leaders so that I can take the spirit that is on you and put it on them, so that you may not carry the burden alone. The president is carrying the burden alone, coupled with pressure from the opposition. So you understand where we are. So what should we do? Should we just remove him because he has failed? Are we going to take over a failed country so that we also start saying the UPND did this, did that? So overall, there's time to politic and there's time to offer credible solutions. And we'd like this current administration to heed to some of the solutions that have been suggested. My president last night was on KBN TV, where he was suggesting that government should subsidize fuel, government should subsidize meal, so that it matches to the campaign promise that they made. So the only way in the next budget, let the minister sit with the IMF and other cooperating partners to introduce subsidies, because in countries where those lending institutions are, there are subsidies for their people. So why should they deny subsidies for Zambians? Those are the immediate things that you implement if you are saying we are going to change things. If we are to take over office tomorrow, those are the immediate things. We've got money underground. I'm looking at world documentaries documenting Zambia being the largest deposits of copper. What are we doing with our copper? That copper is enough to bring our exchange rate down. Mm-hmm. Because the industry is depending on it. We have the commodity for the world. The raw materials are here. This Lobito corridor that is being opened. And I want to thank the American government for supporting such a good project. I was at the embassy in Washington, D.C. as a diplomat. I understand the importance of the Lobito corridor. And credit to my colleagues, the embassy staff in Washington, for some leadership, because this opens the route. Zambia is a landlocked. Now it is now a truly land-linked. Can you imagine when you import something from the US, instead of it coming through Angola, it has to come through Mozambique, shipments from the US. So with the opening of these projects, so you can see the sort of development. And mind you, for the African-American history, the history of slave trade, the first ship that entered the US in California came from Angola. So the ancestral heritage for the larger African American is from this region. And what does that mean to the Black American? Huge trade. So these are opportunities we should commend when things are happening, because it is all towards the national vision of 2030 that should take Zambia to a middle-income country. So we have the solutions to offer, and we can only wait when our time comes. And we hope the support we give to our party leader, he will be our Moses to take us into the promised land.
Well, Mr. Cheche, on that note, we have come to the end of the show. We must say thank you very much for making time. I think Miriam, it has been educative, and also it has been interactive, and hope our viewers out there have gotten one or two things. And on that note, on behalf of Miriam Kaemba, I'm Afias Kaptula, and also in transmission, it was Mr. Isaac Chifita. Our guest has been Mr. Cosmas Chireche. Thank you very much for tuning in this morning.